Call the budget meeting to order.
See, maybe this is your voice.
He said my voice is loud enough, I didn't need a mouth. All right, are we ready to approve the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 budget meeting? So moved.
Second.
Has anybody got any changes or corrections? Ready to vote on it? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes.
Madam Chairman, you've got a couple, 2 or 3 transfers.
Okay, Phoebe, you want to do the first transfer?
Yes, thank you. The first transfer is from our animal center. This is moving $4,000. No? Is that not your first one?
No.
Okay, let's try this again. Sewage disposal. I printed mine off in different order. That's all right. Sorry. Sewage disposal. And this is moving $1,000 from in-service staff development into operating lease payments. And the second transfer is from in-service staff development of $500 from other supplies and materials. Again, this is just to cover, make sure we have a little extra to make, so we're not running short the next couple weeks.
Motion approved.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
Our next transfer request is for the library. This is for end of the year shortage in utilities, moving $2,000 from communication into utility line.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
Now we will address the animal center's needs. We have a transfer request of $4,000 from communications. This is to offset operating lease payments in the amount of $1,000, other contracted services for $2,500, and instructional supplies and materials. Again, this is just to ensure that we have any outstanding invoices covered for the end of the year.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
The last transfer for this evening, I will submit on behalf of myself and my department. This is $125 moving from in-service staff development into communication, again, running a little higher than estimated.
Motion approved. Second. Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. So resolution 6/2025-1, resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. Mr. President. Do we need to vote on each one of these amounts or the total
It's the
amount?
whole resolution.
Okay, and the total amount is $904,217,990,000. This is too much money to try to save. Can I get a motion approved? Does anybody, did you second it, Mary?
I'll second.
Does anybody have any questions about this? I know we've been over this 1,000 times.
I just have one.
Mhm.
Just one, I guess, I know that when we had talked about this, when we kind of gone through each one, I don't necessarily, and I'm not even sure how to address this, but I know there's been a lot of conversations around the insurance and possible savings there. And I feel like if there was a way to reduce our benefits amount per employee, that it would give us an opportunity to see what the consultant can do this coming year through our healthcare insurance. And I'm not sure the best way to do this, because I know benefits touches every single department. If there's a way to reduce that 12.5 that we budgeted per employee, to reduce that to potentially 10.5 per employee, to give us an opportunity to see if any of those savings could be realized. Because that would be approximately about $12 million in potential savings on our expense side. So I don't know if there's a way to do that. I know we were kind of waiting, and there's been just a lot of conversations there, because it would help us when we get to our tax rate to lower that.
I guess my concern is I don't want to cut the insurance benefits. That's very important to employees. Very, very important. And you know, you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah, I don't think the goal would be to cut the insurance benefits, the plan, and it would be to work on getting the discounts through the self-insured, the contracts with our different providers. So that would not be the goal. The goal would be to just negotiate better rates.
Megan, you're the insurance person.
I do have some experience in this area, and I would, as a repeat of what I had mentioned before, especially about pharmacy rebates, but it benefits in general. So the stop-loss contract that we weren't able to vote on previously going into effect July 1st, even if there were revised negotiations on that, it's unlikely that those would be implemented by July 1st. They would be likely to have to remarket, reissue a new policy at a later date, January 1st, probably. And then in that situation, it would be a similar situation to the pharmacy rebates, that you would expect to start actually realizing savings about a quarter after the implementation. The pharmacy, it's usually 6 to 9 months after you've done the repricing and remarketing that you begin to actually receive real dollars. So I want badly for savings to happen and to be realized, but I also want to be realistic about the timing of those savings with regard to this budget.
Is Gina here?
I don't think she's here. So, Madam Chairman, let me touch on some things that I've had Phoebe to run some numbers on, and it goes along with what Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Guffey are saying. The reinsurance market, the reinsurance that you're going to be looking at 8 o'clock on the 20th, there may be some savings in that. We already have a fixed price that he's given us, so that price, whatever it is. But the comment that both of these ladies made, asked Phoebe to go back, because we already know that Cigna gave us a price that was 4.6 less than what it was last year based on the pricing out. If you had the same claims this year, it would be $4.6 million less. So our movement will be to ask them to bring forth those January 1, and that falls in line with what both of you are saying, that bring that price forward to realize the full savings for a full year of 4.6. And I think we can get there. So with that being said, I'm very comfortable, and Phoebe and I have kicked this around the better part of several days, of reducing, and Mary, you mentioned 12.5, it's actually 13 with all the other stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
So I'm very comfortable with reducing it to the new number of 12.5, and I'll let Phoebe talk about that, because the biggest savings on the tax rate will be from the schools on this. Phoebe, you want to kind of take them through that conversation, and I've got a few more.
Yes, so we have had discussions with our medical insurance. As you said, we are projecting that we're going to receive some savings just based on what information we did receive from the bids, and what savings they think that we can move forward with sooner than later. I am not as optimistic as as Commissioner Smith to move it down quite that low, but I have calculated moving it down $500 per employee. So if we move that down to 12.5, that will save a significant amount, obviously, in the schools. That will save 542,500 in general fund, a little over 22,000 in the solid waste fund, and a little over 52,000 in 131 in the highway fund. So for the county, we would see savings just on our side of $658,000+. Again, that's a little bit, I'm a little more cautious, I think, with my 500, that we were expecting, a few incentives that are coming through that we can implement starting July 1, that we think that we can move forward with. Now, where we will see the significant difference in that is moving from 13,000 to 12,500 for the school system will save us around $2.7 million. And that is what we are projecting the current penny to go for. So that is a significant savings on the school side.
And that's, if I follow up back on that, that's a comfortable margin, based on the pricing that they have given us to this point. But it also covers those unusual claims that we never know. Nothing is ever the same. We never have a 12-month period where you have all the same claims. It just doesn't work that way. But that's the best you can do. Then you make those moves. So that would save you, how many pennies on the school side?
That will save a full penny, a little over on the school side, so a full penny.
And that would save us about $800,000.
On the county, yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, I'm comfortable with that. I think that's obtainable. I'm not as optimistic as Commissioner Smith, because if something happens, we may or may not have that money to make those claims come back into county general.
So we really couldn't reduce the taxes on the county side because it's not a full penny, right? We could on the school side.
All right, that's one. And if, let the commissioners say what they want. We've got a couple of other suggestions we're gonna make. So your tax rate that's being proposed is 134. Excuse me, the certified rate that's been approved is 1.2433. And what you're looking at in this resolution is 1.34. So if you want to hear some other ideas, I'm glad to pitch those out unless the four of you have questions, because we try to go in and find where we can save here and save there. You got any questions on that?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, and thank you, Mayor, for explaining that. So the savings of 2.7 and 4.6, that's what we conservatively think we can save this year.
This fiscal year.
Based on the timing and,
Right.
but that could be 4 times that much possibly next year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I hope so.
So I guess my question then would be to you, Mayor, is, and as we get into the rate, if there's a way to kind of try to think of the best word, kind of slow roll the tax increase and kind of see where we're at next year, and then look at a potential, if we see these cost savings come in, what level of comfortability we have with utilizing additional fund balance, and then looking at where we're at next year and doing an additional. I think my goal is, especially because of the area that I'm in, out in Nolensville, they just had a very significant tax increase. And I want to do all I can to not put the county in any jeopardy, but also try and see if there's any way that we can see where we're at the end of this year with all the changes that are happening and the additional revenue streams. And if there's any way we can lower it even more this year and then look again next year to see where we're at with some of these initiatives that we're putting into place.
So I think what you're asking me, you used the word slow, what did you say, slow?
Slow roll it.
Slow roll it?
Slow roll it.
Well, the comptroller doesn't understand the word slow roller. that comptroller requires us to requires you as county commissioners to set a tax rate each year.
Right.
And I don't remember the exact date, but that's what we're doing on the 20th. That you have to get a tax rate, so I can't slow it.
Well, I understand that, but I
But for
guess,
next year,
Yes.
that's right.
yes. So that's what I was asking, is like if there's a way for us to maybe go a little bit lower and, look at using fund balance, and then next year see where we're at, and then if we don't feel comfortable that this year's increase was enough, look at next year to see if there's additional increase required. I just feel like there's a lot of changes happening in our county this year. I know there's a lot more commercial that's coming. I also know that.
Now you're talking politics. You're not gonna get a rate increase next year during an election. Let's just, you either do it this year,
Well, I'm hoping we don't have to do it next year, but this year we can do enough that actually we'll be in good shape.
but if you cut it so slim, let me go through some of these other things, Commissioner, and see what you think
Okay.
of them. So, if you don't mind me just asking the schools. So Rachel's got some good news and bad news for us from the state on some numbers. And so if you don't mind, let Rachel come up to the microphone and share that information with us.
We want the bad news first.
The bad news first is that sales tax the last couple of months have not been as high as projected. So that's affected our fund balance projection as well as the projection for next year's sales tax number. So it's down about $1.6 million. The good news is that TISA, what it looks like or what we're tracking on right now, is an increase of about 1.2 from what was originally projected. So the two are kind of washing out. But better from the state, but not so good on the sales tax.
I guess my concern is this gonna be a continuance of the sales tax, not?
We projected, for the last several years, have projected a 3% monthly increase. The beginning of the year was higher, and then, of course, February's, which was really December's, was a really good month. But then the last couple have been more of a 1% for us, or a 1.5% increase versus the 3%. Got two more, I've still got, we'll have May and June. Don't have that information yet, because it's always
I'm not as nervous as she is with the sales tax. I think you'll crank back up. And it's like everything,
fluctuates.
it's not a linear movement up, it's not a linear movement down. It's but clearly, this county's in a different economic condition than some of the other counties around us. But personally, I think that's good news. We picked up $1 million more from tissue.
It's great news.
And the other thing, Madam Chairman, is we, through our property and casualty, again, I'll let Phoebe give you the exact numbers, but we were able to get some reduction in that number as opposed to what we had budgeted for. So we're taking advantage of that. Phoebe?
Yes, sir. So Jim has gotten our final numbers after our bid. We originally had proposed a 5% increase on our premiums, and I would be able to reduce that to at least 3%. So that would cut in the general fund another $42,000 just for general fund. And I didn't do my totals for 116. We're looking at a little over 6,000 in 116. And we're looking at another 13,326 in the highway. So again, those are only small decreases, but overall, if we move the notch a little here and a little there, but we did get those bids in, and we were doing great on what we're looking at for premium costs this year, based on the bid numbers.
And then, Mr. question on that, Madam Chairman, you just, through the efforts, again, of Phoebe and Bobby, and Jeff, we were able to go back in and do some tweaking on the educational impact fee. And it really, where the real savings is gonna come is in the rural debt. And it was with some issues that occurred several years ago, we could pay some debt off. And again, I'll let Phoebe kind of take us through that, but I want to thank Jeff and Bobby for rolling up their sleeves and getting us comfortable with this, so thank you, Jeff.
So back in education impact fee, we started collections in 17. If you all will remember, at that point, we were still under lawsuit. We didn't know how that was going to work. So we were very, very conservative on moving forward with using those funds to defray any future cost. At that point, we didn't know if we were going to have to disperse those funds back out. So looking back, I have gone back to 2017 bond. We had nothing we had used for education impact fee, but we were able to capture, looking at 2018 bond for county district. We had 3 projects in that bond that we used bonded funds: Central East, Sunset Middle Auditorium, and Grassland Auditorium. Total of just those projects was $35.8 million is what we bonded. We only used about 6-7 million out of education impact fees. So obviously nothing that what we could have, but at that point we were just starting to collect those funds. So we really didn't have a balance to pull from. So we were just defraying, without $1 million here, $1 million there. Now that we do have sufficient funds, we have gone back again with Jeff and Bobby's help to re-examine that private act based on the resolution that was originally approved back for that 2018 bond. And again, the same thing for 2019 bond. We are able to go back now and recapture some of those, pull from education impact fee to pay against the principal on those bonds that we have bonded debt for those growth projects. In doing so, we will be able to capture a little over $2 million on that 2018 bond and a little over $3 million on that 2019 bond. So the same premise, if you all will recall, our privilege tax. So every year as we get to, you'll see a resolution in July, we always pull funds from those education impact and school privilege tax. And we pull those funds out, we put that in our debt service to pay against principal and interest. This is the same principle, just doing that now with education impact fee. So in doing so, and going back through again, allocations and what would be allocated to those specific projects that we can identify as growth-related impact projects. We can do a transfer and move monies and capture a little over $5 million and add that into our rural debt service fund. That will save us 2 pennies. So I can drop it from 11 cents to 9 cents. General debt service, we did not have obviously as much because that's kind of a mixture. I'm only able to pull, a little over 500,000, but again, that will give us some breathing room so we don't have to have an increase. But right now, we are looking at pulling and capitalizing on those funds in excess of $5.6 million. By doing that, I can cut 2 more pennies from the tax rate.
Very good.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, just a quick question. So the rural debt service fund, that will basically remain the same, the certified rate?
Yes, the certified rate for rural debt service is 9 cents, yes, so that would be no increase. And then the general debt service would remain at the 15 as proposed previously.
We have 2 pennies. Do we have a penny somewhere else on the
So-
schools?
So your new number for your tax rate with all that, since Phoebe's doing all the math for all this,
Yeah, I actually found another penny. I
it's gonna change from $1.34 to around $1.30.
Knocked off 4 cents.
Not anything to it, is it? That's why you can't get all upset when you have these meetings until you get those school numbers. And we're able to see where, and insurance and all this we've been doing, that's where you are. Now, there is some conversation been floating out there that bring it up from 92 to 95 or 96. I'll have to push back on that a little bit because our collection rate is around 95, 96 this year. People aren't paying their taxes, and I'm sure that's a sign of the times. Maybe it's kind of like sales tax. They probably go hand in hand if somebody could psychologically figure out people on that. But you could capture a penny or two, but taking it up to 95, 96 just is no breathing room when your collection rate right now is just right at 95, 96. So I would discourage us from moving it up that far.
I would discourage it from moving any, because all it is a one-time money, and
Well-
then next year you're gonna have to raise it.
It's my job to give you the answers over here, working with Phoebe and Jeff and all of the other elected and people to give you my opinion, but ultimately the school, the county commission has to vote on that. But clearly we've dropped it. Where we are right now is about $1.30.
Okay, where, I see you reduced 2 in the rural debt service, where would the other 2 come from?
So if we do go to 94% collection calculation, and so if we, as the mayor said, currently we're at 96.4% collection rate. So I am not comfortable with 95, as that would be budgeting basically 100% of our collections. As property taxes is a little bit lower in the collection rate this year than it has been in the past. However, if we do move it to 94% collection rate, I can shift money around between this fund and that fund, and we can save another penny in the schools, and I can drop 1 penny from the general purpose, or general county general fund. So
That's kind
It
of
just
taking
depends
the
on-
easy way out, isn't it?
it is moving from one spot to another, yes.
Then you pay for it next year.
Now for gambling.
Yeah, it's like a gamble.
Well, I guess we do have some different alternative revenue streams that we're also looking at. So I guess I'd probably be a little bit more comfortable. I'd be okay with the 94% because we are still looking at adequate facilities. I just feel like we've got to go through all these other, options. To me, a property tax increase always should be the last option. And if there's potential that we can look at the study that comes in, if we can look at cost savings in the insurance area. There's, possibly looking at Parks and Rec and seeing how we can raise our revenue there. I do think that there's just some options that we can look at, the revenue streams, the alternate revenue streams, and just try and minimize the increase we have to do this year.
Well,
I did have a quick question on the one.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So if we did the 94, we'd be like 0.27 for county general, and then 0.15 for general debt, 0.09 for rural, and then the general purpose school fund would be
0.75.
0.75.
I'm sorry, I think moving it to 94 is doing a political thing to make you look good, but not doing the right thing for the county. We're elected to do what's best for the county in the long run, not what benefits it for 1 year from now. That's my thought about it.
So, part of the meeting tonight, Megan, I got ahead of you. You were gonna
Go ahead, nope.
So part of the meeting tonight is to roll up the sleeves, give you these different options that we've come to. The only other thing we can do is go back into did you make copies then?
Yes, sir.
So this is a proposed budget. This is what you voted on during the course of the last several months. And when you get your copy, I'll kind of highlight some things for you where the increases have been. So this is right now at where we are in time, just all it is. So if you go to page 7, and I'm going to just take this one for an example here. Go to your IT section on page 7. You can see last year's budget was $4,981,558. Everybody on board with me?
Probably don't want that.
This year, their budget is $5,714,988. You can go up there and see the majority of that increase came out of licenses and the majority of their increase came out of license and out of other contracted services. Okay, follow me, what I'm doing here? So there wasn't much change in county building. You kind of go down through, I mean, there might have been $100,000. And I don't mean to say $100,000, not important, but at a $900 million budget. And I should say right off the bat, there's not a lot left in schools, because Jason and the school board trimmed that. I think they cut 31 positions, if I remember correctly. So go back to our sheet here, you go to page 14, where the increases have been in public safety, sheriff's department. On page 14, you will see the budget for public safety sheriff's department was $22,770,959, and this year's $25,908,413. So that's about a $3 million increase. Most of that increase was in their, I don't remember, Sheriff, what it was called, that long-term lease that we did for $1.3 million for this year. Some kind of equipment.
It's the records management project.
Okay, so in that one stroke of the pen, it was $1.3 million. The other one that you will see, and there's a lot of discussion on about this. I'm just talking facts. Go up to the top of page 14 on personnel. You can read the entire personnel that you went across the board. If you add all those deputies, administrative, accountant, salary, all of that is built into that personnel budget. You can see those adjustments that you all voted for, including me, that we voted for in December and then again in February, March, they reflected on this year's budget coming through. So now you can actually see what that bottom line is going from 22.7 to 25.908. Now this does not include, I need your help again, Sheriff. This does not include the long-term lease with all that equipment in it, as opposed to buying. I think the purchase price was 21 million, and the lease was like $1.3 million. So that $1.3 million is not in here. That's going to come forward next year. If you you choose to go the lease route, then the $1.3 million is added into next year's budget on top of already this budget. There's no way to avoid it. And then there are, those are the big items that when you go through the budget, you take this home and look at it. But I am comfortable, I'm very comfortable with the budget going to about 30.
Is that raising the rate to 94% instead of 92?
It doesn't.
Yes, I can manipulate if I moved it to 94, yes.
So if you went to that, you actually get a rate of 1.29. and then some numbers out.
Yes.
But you can take a nickel off this budget by doing the things that we have outlined. Anything else, we're gonna have to go back into that budget and start cutting, whatever that is. This gets all the employees their 4%, it gets the schools their amount of money.
It's a gross 4%, we propose.
You're just moving it around. It gets everybody, and that's a pretty lean budget to do all this. And that's tweaking some things here on the last day, Madam Chairman. You can get it down to $1.29 to go to 94. I know your opinion is going from 92 to 94, but 92 going to 94 really helps us. But it is something you have to think about.
It helps us for now, but next year, it won't be that safety net.
But you can go in the 20th, and say, you've got it down to $1.29 or $1.30. It's just whatever this committee decides to do, and that's your job.
Any comments?
Anything beyond that, we gotta add it back on. So once you do that, what I'm saying, if you want to tweak and do some other things, you either gotta cut some of that budget, or you're gonna have to move those pennies up to justify the cost of it. That's where we are today. Does that make sense?
Is IT here?
No, they're not. We don't have them there. I tell you, most of that's in licenses. And you know, there's not a lot you can do with licenses.
We run into that, I run into that in Rotary, I run into it in business, I run into it here, so.
Everywhere.
If I had expertise in IT, I would feel a lot more comfortable.
John? Any comments?
I've got a question, just to help me understand. So, at least 2 years ago, it may have been another year, the state started giving us about $4.5 million a year for the SROs that we were paying for prior to. From conversations with people at the state, they expected that not to replace, but to supplement, you know, and use that extra money for public safety. And I'm sure it's in here, but what's happened with that money? I mean, I know it goes out amongst other things, but that's extra $4.5 million that we get each year, and some people will say, well, it's gonna go away. I politically see the state saying we're pulling safety and security out of the schools now that they've been funding. I think it's there. I think it's there to stay. So that money.
So the $4 million is not in addition to salaries, but they will reimburse. So basically, we have to go back and show them how much, and please Jennifer, tell me if I'm wrong, per deputy, they're only allocated a certain amount. We have to show that we are paying that in their salary and benefits. Then we send that information to the state to make sure that obviously we have met our $4 million. The $4 million has not been put into the revenue numbers at this time because I have not been given anything. And I agree with you. I can't imagine them not giving it to us. But also until I have something concrete, I can't rely on it all as well. So last year, and actually 2 years, I believe we've gotten it. We come back to you as soon as I receive that money and get notification from the state. I come back to you with a resolution to accept that $4 million and to put that money into fund balance to offset the salaries and benefits that we have already included as part of our operational expenses.
And to follow up on that, Commissioner, to make this budget work at 129, which would be that, let's say they give us $4 million and we put it in fund balance, we still have to draw $14 million out of fund balance to make this budget work. Now, I think several years ago, my memory says we might have taken 16. That's about the highest we've ever been. Normally
16, 17.
16 or 17, but about the most we ever go into fund balance. And you say, well, why don't you go into it? Because you've been budgeting conservatively. You get these monies in after the budget. And so all of a sudden you've got some money in there. So we make it good on the upcoming year. To make this budget work at 129, 130, you're still taking $14 million out of fund balance. But that's okay because you identified these different areas that come in after we set the budget. But that's just the world we live in. Does that make sense? Still gonna take 14 million to make this one work. And our bond council is comfortable with that. Moody's is comfortable with our habits. And, that's important too. We don't talk about that enough, but it's very important to keep that AAA rated bonding.
I just, sometimes my math is a little simplified in my mind, but, you know, I know that was, prior to that, that was money that, and we may have hired a few more as well, but, that was money that was completely having to be paid for by the county. And now it's, I mean, it's extra money. I mean, it's going somewhere. So, I mean, and I guess.
It's just fund balance.
Yeah.
But I will say, I have to ask, the sheriff, do we get SRO money for FSSD?
I'm sorry, I got a cough behind me. I didn't hear you.
Do we get SRO money for
FSSD.
For what?
For FSSD.
Oh, yes, yes.
I guess I have another concern. I'm gonna bring this to I know the sheriff has been pushing for additional raises for his staff. We said at this rate, nothing's gonna happen. There won't be one dime more. And I don't know if some of the other commissioners are for pushing that, so that knocks that out completely.
I'm personally fine with, the voters can be mad at me to give them some raises to the public safety. That doesn't bother me. But, because, you know, I've said it, my piece in here before, but it is just different. Takes 10 times longer to train somebody, hire somebody today. It's a year before you get any benefit out of them. They're quitting in between those times. We're losing an easy $30,000 per person we hire every time they leave. And those are those intangibles.
But you do realize in these budgets we've got, in like the sheriff's department, I'm gonna use an example, not everybody's getting just a 4%. There are quite a few that's getting more than that. So it's not just 4%, it's a lot more for a lot of them.
Well, that's just fixing past problems and inequities. And I appreciate it. I mean, I want what they can get. And again, I want it for all the employees. But the other departments, I don't think are having the level of retaining and hiring and retaining the deputies like the sheriff's department. It's just a unique situation in law enforcement. And they're getting so far behind now. I mean, it's, you know, the numbers we did everything off last year to get for us this year, that's not even accurate anymore because the other agencies that we use, they're going up. So we're already behind on that before we even get there.
But you know, we can never compete with Metro and Brentwood. We're never gonna be able to compete. We never have been able to be, and we never will be able to.
Well, I think we've never chose to. It has to be an obvious choice. And it's a philosophical thing, and I respect everybody's opinions on it, but that's where I'm at on it. I think if you did a poll, and I know we can't just go out and do referendums and all that stuff, but if we polled our citizens, I think that most of them would say, I'd be willing to pay this extra amount if it went to the sheriff's department. I just think they would.
When it comes to the tax rate, I don't know about that.
And I could be wrong, but I feel like that, you know, that I I've had so many conversations with people that say, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. We want the best public safety, that's the core thing. If you don't have that, none of the rest of it matters.
And what's the equivalent in terms of a penny to do, you know, we're at 69 to go to 70, you know, we talked about, is it half a penny, is it a whole penny, is it a penny and a half?
I don't even think it's a penny, I think it's like a quarter of a penny or something. $600,000, right? A penny's 1.8 million. I may have those
It's
numbers.
2
Or is it
To
2.8?
get to the 75th percentile, it'd be the difference between 2.72 and 1.64, whatever that math is.
Half a penny?
It is, but that number, keep in mind, I need to add taxes, retirement, and all that good stuff.
Benefits.
Yes, please. So we're looking at approximately, yes, once we get those final numbers. I haven't gotten the final numbers from the salary study breaking out exactly to the penny. I think his presentation just said 2.72. I don't work in estimates, so once I get those numbers and evaluate those, it may be a little bit more or less. But approximately based on that number that he presented with taxes and retirement, we're looking at an additional $1,257,000. And then we will know, we need to go back at that point, identify what we need to add as well for overtime. But we are looking at 1.25, 1.26 million, $1.26 million.
I would suggest you lock in this budget and you've got something to work off from. I mean, you've got time on the 20th.
It'll be a long day.
Well, but that gives her time to lock down numbers, so we're not just playing around with approximates.
Real quick comment, Madam Chair, with regards to the sheriff. I was also made aware that there's a possibility that there could be a delay in purchase of some radios that was gonna come out of fund balance this year, that there was a possibility to push that 1.1 to next year, and that would also be money that could be used towards getting the sheriff's deputies to the 75th percentile. Is that still a possibility?
And yes, we could cut their capital. Just please keep in mind that that takes care of this budget. That doesn't take into account next year if we want to give the sheriff a department, as I would hope we would, a cost of living of 2% on top of the $1 million. So that takes care of this fiscal year. But if we do not identify and are realistic about what that impact is for the next fiscal year, we're going to be having the same conversation trying to scrounge around for another penny.
So the option might be just
So
to add a penny.
He can just stop having radios for like 4 or 5 years.
You're taking, the sheriff's taking a gamble because it may not get approved next year. Just because you put it this year don't mean you'll get it
That will
next
solve-
year.
That will solve the current number that we are short. It does not, however, take into account the snowball effect of now we've just increased $1 million. Next year it's going to be, 1 point whatever when we give a cost of living on the additional $1 million.
Right, but it is an option just to.
It is an option.
Consider, and then the other option is just adding a penny.
Correct. We would have to add a penny.
It'd be good to have
Yes.
those options, just to know.
Yeah, I mean, this was brought to my attention by Chief King. The life of a radio is 5 to 8 years, and then they start losing their tuning. And Chief, feel free to jump in here.
I need to go up there.
You can, yeah, you need to come up here probably. We're on a 5-year cycle, and so this $1 million plus to replace the radios in this capital budget was for half of the radios in our inventory, and then the other half next year. So, we would basically be extending a radio from 5 years to 6 years, which is well within the life of that radio, we believe. But if I'm missing anything, or if there's anything I'm not saying there, I think, in my opinion, if we're looking for options, viable options, I think it's that important to the sheriff's office. I truly do. But this was brought to my attention by Chief King, and I brought it up to the mayor as an option. And I guess the question was whether we were going to bond for that or whether that was coming out of fund balance. And I think it's coming out of fund balance, which does make it a viable option. And am I missing anything on that?
No, so we're sitting at 7 years right now, so you're looking at, by the time it's implemented, anyway, you're sitting at 8 years. We've only sent back probably 12 to 14 radios in the last 9 months to be tweaked. The firmware updates, they're just getting out of tune, stuff like that. So you're looking at $1,000 a radio getting them fixed. So you're looking at 15,000 that we've spent in the last 9 months for that.
We have a budget for
Yes.
doing that.
Yes.
So that budget line we've been under budget in that line significantly. And if y'all recall, we actually, in this budget, requested to move $17,000 from that line item to another line item because we weren't repairing that many radios out of the maintenance line item. So if you're looking at priorities, then in my opinion, this is, it's that critical. That's an option that we're willing to present to y'all for consideration.
Well, I think one of the things that we all know that budgets and money is fungible, whether you take it out of fund balance or whether you bond it, it is fungible. And when you bleed that fund balance away, like we did in December, to make those adjustments, that's, and when we went through this several years ago with schools, and we said, hey, catch us at the beginning of the year. Let's don't be doing it in the middle of the year because it makes it very difficult. I understand you being a new sheriff, you wanted that, but this board has to realize when you increase other equipment $1.3 million during the year, that's less money you've got out of fund balance. And so those are priority issues. I think my role is out of financing. Yours is priority. What's more important? Is it radios or is it something new? That's your job. I don't disagree with commissioners. I think there's some people out there who say, yeah, give whatever the raises they feel like they need to keep them here. But they don't see the backside of that picture either. The radios and the equipment and all that. So that's a priority the sheriff has to be held responsible for during the year and in election time.
I guess my concern too is, I know a lot of the sheriff's deputies, and there's some great guys at work, and I understand.
And ladies.
And ladies, guys and ladies, yes. I don't know that many of the ladies, a few of them. And, it is an important position, and I think they do a good job. And I'm not saying they don't deserve it, they do. But then you create this divide between the sheriff's department and the rest of the county. This has already created a divide. There's already issues going on because of this. There are other county employees upset about this. And I think everybody needs to be aware of that. It's creating a rift that I've never seen happen before.
We're certainly not trying to create a rift. I think all we're trying to do is be consistent with what other counties are doing and what other municipalities are doing. So it's not like we're bringing something to you that is foreign or completely new in concept. I think, I just think it's the reality of the world we live in today. And, how we got to this point, I don't know, but we're in a pickle, and it's going to get worse.
What's our next thing?
Well, Madam Chairman,
Do we want to vote on?
if you want to take these recommendations that have been talked about tonight, we can have Phoebe break them out by line so that we get them into the minutes, so that we can get this new information out to the county commission for the 20th meeting. That's one thing. And I don't know any other way to do it. I mean, we've wrestled with it, but you're gonna have to take each one of those and go down through it. And if you wanna go that route, we can go that route.
Well, do we vote on what it is now?
No,
No. Or do we just?
no, you're gonna gonna change.
We're gonna amend the order.
We're gonna amend some of these things.
Okay.
Now, if you wanna vote on them, at $1.34, we can do that. But we're offering to you, there's a nickel savings, we can carve out this.
I'm still uncomfortable with moving it to 94 from 90.
And Madam Chairman, I would suggest you let us go line by line, and you can vote no on what you wanna vote no on.
All right, if I make the motion, Phoebe, will you give me the lines?
You have a motion and a second on the floor. We're on resolution 1, and just before you do that, your packet for 6/20 is going in the mail tomorrow. Not to say that the clerk can't scan whatever recommendations later, but just as point of
So
information.
I make a motion to amend our original.
You need
She's
a
gotta go
motion to
line by
put the
line here.
resolution on the floor first,
Right.
and then you will have a motion to amend the resolution.
The resolution 1 is already on the floor.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, and we gotta go through each line and reduce the,
You want me to call them off and you make them?
there you go.
All right. First of all, reduce your medical dental from 13 to 12.5. You can make the motion, I'll just give you the
On
verbiage.
the second page. So if we look at it should be the second page of your first resolution. So all of these expenses will fall under 58,600 employee benefits.
There you go. Thank you.
So what's the total number gonna be?
Other general government, yes, for general fund. So you'll see right under total general government, you'll see employee benefits, currently at 28,216, 697. Reduce that by the medical expense, medical insurance savings, dropping that to 12,500, as well as the liability, workers' comp, vehicle by 41. That is reducing that number by $583,680. Your new total is $27,633,17.
And that's on 58,600.
Yes, ma'am. That will reduce your total general fund. Your new total general fund expenditures will be $173,495,840.
Now would be the appropriate time for a so moved and a
So
second.
moved.
And a second.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions on adjusting that? No, I mean.
That was pretty straightforward, 13 to 12.5.
All right, everybody ready to vote on?
Property
Very good.
casualty.
Yep. Let's do the
And you'll do them all.
116 fund, please, if we can, if you don't mind.
What page are we on? Hang on.
So same page.
Funds,
If you just drop
solid
down to
waste.
solid waste,
Yep, there it is.
unfortunately, these will take several months, so yes, if we'll
No,
just,
you
if
got
it'll
it.
drop down a little bit. Employee benefits, 58,600 there for solid waste. We are reducing that. The new number will be $874,719 for your employee benefits. Your new total solid waste fund expenditure will be $10,486,687.
So moved.
Okay. And then if we will drop down, same page.
We gotta vote on it.
Do we have to
Are
vote?
you not voting on each motion and second?
They did that once, okay.
Yeah, you can do it separately, or you can take it as one amendment with all the lines, but then if you've got any argument about one, you've got to partition it back out. I would vote on each one individually
That's what
and
I
just
was
keep moving.
suggesting, because she's got a
Yes.
problem going from 92 to whatever.
I don't think you have to move on the total change. I think you need to vote on the amendment to the specific line. So you would have, the first vote would be on 58,600. And once you've done that, the total will change automatically by operation of that amendment. So I would vote on 58,600 first.
All right, you wanna make the amendment on that again? Let's start.
She's already made that.
Yeah, I'd like to
General fund.
amend the general fund line 58,600 to $27,633,017.
Yes.
Can I get a second? Second. Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote on the amendment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Second amendment.
I would like to make an amendment to the total solid waste sanitation fund on line 58,600 employee benefits to reduce that amount to $874,719.
Second. Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
The next is for the highway department. This will be actually 66,000 employee benefits. And that will be reducing that number to 1,958,458.
Your motion?
Yep, making a motion to amend the total highway public works fund line items 6000 to $1,958,458.
Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
Do you need the total for the total fund or no, just as long as I produce those numbers?
You can just reduce that. I mean,
Okay.
So you took care of the medical insurance, you need to still do the schools?
So that, yes, the school's budget. Moving that down to 12,500. That will be on your next page, should be total general fund first. You don't have it in one line though, do you? Okay, so unfortunately, theirs is a little bit different. They don't have it, they have it in every category. So we would have to just do an amendment on the total budget as a total.
We only vote on their budget as a total anyway, right? I mean,
Yes,
in
yes,
general, so
yes.
that kind of tracks.
Do you have an amount for that?
I do. Did you agree with that number? Did you?
I was at 2,694,000.
Okay, yes.
All they're doing is multiplying the number.
So reducing it by 2,694,000.
How much was that again?
So that would be reducing the general purpose school budget by $2,694,000. Or 69,000.
Yes.
694,000, right? Not dollars. So $2,694,000 would be the reduction there.
and that would leave what number?
Yeah, because my motion is just gonna be on the total.
Okay,
562, 612, 797.
sounds right. 5, 6.
562, 612, 797.
Yes.
Say what?
62,612,797.
560.
Wanna make that one, Matthew?
62, 612, 797.
Would you give that number again so Jamie can write it?
Yes, so the new budget for the general purpose school would be $562,612,797. Second. Oops.
We just need to hope that we don't have any claims, right?
No, you're fine.
Well,
We have reinsurance.
yeah. If you all vote on 8 o'clock, we'll have reinsurance.
Show me to get the vote of the night.
All right. Oh, we gotta vote on that.
Okay, who did the motion? You did.
Mary was the second.
Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. So that affected how many pennies, Stevie? 1, 2,
Director still
Oh,
discussing.
because you still have some in central cafeteria. We actually do, we can have additional savings. I was looking at general purpose school, but we also have a little bit in central cafeteria as well as extended school if we drop it down to 12.5. Oh, so Rachel just found us.
If I may, Madam Chair, I know we can't see each other, that will not, those two budgets are not paid out of county taxes. So we'll have to we'll make those changes, but it won't impact your bottom line.
Will we still need to vote on those?
Either now or on the floor.
Okay. So let's go ahead and vote on those changes.
Okay. Rachel, do you have the? It should be about another 100,000, but I don't know which split.
Central cafeteria, it would reduce it down to 20,749,302.
749.
20,749,302.
So moved.
Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote on the new motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
For extended school care, it would adjust down to 8,045,674.
So moved.
So 8,045,674.
Second. Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
The only one that impacts from taxes is the general purpose school fund.
Correct.
Right.
I'm just making a note.
Is the highway will not affected.
Did you do the property casualty?
Yes, that was included.
That was included,
Yes, that was
yeah.
included in the 58,600 number.
Correct me if I'm wrong with that.
So-
That's on us.
Not yet. It's only on the revenue side.
Okay.
So, Madam Chairman, now what you need is rule that.
She was just saying that's only on the revenue side though.
Okay.
Right, not in the,
And the tax rate, right. If we-
and the tax
if
rate,
we-
which is
yes.
later on.
The next resolution, yes.
Do you have the total for all the new amounts, Phoebe?
Total.
For, yeah, the.
We'll get these typed up and send them out as an amendment to the resolution.
Okay, so total budget. 152, 207. School is 62. We didn't have to Let's hope that's correct.
We're at 92. They're saying that.
893 359 980. So I'm gonna do it the long way. I did the short way. I'm gonna do it the long way. 1 7 9 5 8 6
It's been that same way for like the last 4 years.
Well, that's what we said, but I was thinking the same. What do we go with to get that?
42 198.
Yeah, usually every time we do some new assessment.
So it wouldn't have been last year, it would have been before.
You're right.
I gave a presentation that had that number. I'm just thinking,
It was like 2 something. I'm thinking 2 something. I can't remember what it was. Diane, do you know what the previous tax rate before
the
the
certified.
$1.88 back several years ago? Was it 2?
222. It's 222.
222, you had
It's
it?
222.
I had it in another paper, I don't have it now.
Yeah, it's 222.
It was 222.
90. Put in the
So 188.
8,045 to, for 8 million.
You are a gun code law enforcement guy, I can say that. But I'm hearing other employees fuss too. Because they don't do the job of it.
I got that number twice. I cannot seem to get the number twice.
What's the highway fund? I didn't get that.
I mean, no
I was
pressure.
trying to help you.
The highway fund is 15,889,776. I did it by fund, not by total. My apologies. I wasn't thinking about that.
She is good.
So, yeah, fund to fund, right? By fund would be right, because you're giving us the revised.
Right. But I
Sure.
didn't have the central cafeteria next to the school. So that's my difference. I had only put general purpose. 495.
No, Phoebe's still working on her. Quick.
While she's working on the number, Commissioners, I know you won't be on budget next year, but some of the things we need to work out is under line 54610, that's the coroner and the medical examiner. Cities need to be paying for their autopsies. And we don't need to be paying for cities. And I think most of them understand that. I think we pay for the sheriff. We don't pay for the Tennessee Highway Department. We pay for the sheriff. But I think most of our autopsies are going on inside the cities. And that's a $400,000 expenditure. If we can trim a couple $100,000 off now.
Okay, I got that number twice now.
But there's several spots in the budget that we need to look at things like that.
But then I've also heard cities
Oh, well, I
complain
haven't
about
seen what
paying
she
for all
got.
the sheriff's departments because they have their
I did
own.
not get your number. I got my number twice, though.
That's gonna be an issue too.
That's a good point.
Well, it's gotta go out in the packet.
Cities
For
are
passing.
something, because they're, I mean, they
All right, let me check, make sure I have the general purpose.
Departments require.
I think it's still, I know what mine is. Let me make sure I have your number right.
Yeah, you drive around a patrol car, the cities are paying for the jail, for the process sergeant, for the.
Right,
security and all that
right.
stuff.
But I think what they're objecting to are the patrol officers, not any of the other services.
That's the smallest portion of the whole sheriff's department's budget. And they also enforce the law inside the cities too. They're not prohibited from doing that. If the cities choose to be a city and choose to have a police department, and they pay extra taxes for that, they're not paying for something in the cities that they're not getting a benefit from. I've heard that said a couple times, and I think the logic is just flawed.
I'm just telling you what I heard.
Well, and that's why I'm saying it out
Okay,
loud,
so what'd you
so
have
people
for
can
her?
watch
She's
it
got-
on video. It's just flawed logic.
I know what my new totals are for the county.
Separate.
I just need to make sure. It was in my spreadsheet, I just didn't have the school.
Asking them to pay for autopsy medical
Okay.
examinations, in line.
5, 6, 2, 6, 1,
Maybe,
2, 7, 9,
asking the cities to pay for it, absolutely. I don't have a problem with that at all. They can afford to pay for their own autopsy.
I mean, that's several dollars.
6, 7, 4. So that's for the schools. Plus my county is
The autopsies are from the cities, I would.
2,207.
That's not the idea you have.
And I got the same number twice. How
Was it
come?
the idea, EMS services? Need some more money from the state.
There's all kinds of ways, but you gotta start on it early. We do need to take a lot of those off. There's so many things in the pipeline you can't do, but you gotta have all that done.
196, 150.
We don't need any more things coming in a week before we have to budget, like the test.
All right, I got a new number. Thank you. I apologize. I had it for the county, I didn't add schools. My apologies. Okay, our new county budget, all funds, is $900,756,130.
Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions? We're ready to vote on the total budget of $900,756,130. All those in favor say aye.
I just
Anybody
left
against,
off this.
passes 5-0.
Big sneak one.
Resolution as amended.
For the resolution as amended.
Second.
You already
We voted.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So we need to hear, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against, passes 5-0 as amended. All right. Resolution 6/2025-2, resolution making appropriations to nonprofit emergency services organizations of Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions? These are the fire department's volunteer and the Williamson County Fire and Emergency Services for $249,705.
I was gonna ask you to say the total.
Okay. Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. The next one is resolution number 6/2025-3, resolution making appropriations to nonprofit charitable organizations of Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ended June 30th, 2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Chairman, if you will notice on the very last entry, we have footnoted that pending comptroller's satisfactory approval. We have one nonprofit that's been singled out that they're doing an audit on. And so that, it's not a great deal of money, but that $5,175 will not be released until the comptroller signs off on it.
Okay.
So that's what you're voting on. We
Yeah.
put that on at the last moment.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. It's $2,916,337. Does anybody have any questions about this? Oh, did I?
I moved to approve.
Did you? Do any of y'all have any questions about it? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0. All right, resolution 6/2025-4, resolution certifying the tax rate based on the 2025 reappraisal program, Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. And it's to certify it at $1.2433. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Do y'all have any questions on this? Brad Coleman here, someone question him? I guess not. Y'all ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Now, here comes the whole. Resolution 6/2025-5, resolution setting the tax levy in Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. I'm not saying an amount yet. We need to do a motion before we
to
say.
amend.
We needed
Do you
to.
need a motion for the resolution
For the
first?
resolution first. So moved.
Second.
All right.
Now you can do a motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
And Phoebe can give you those pennies for general fund, all the way down through there.
Yes, so again, depending on your position on if you approve to allow me to move education impact funds to defray the cost of $5.6 million, then that would reduce the debt service to 9 pennies, the rural debt service.
But
We're
you
good with
also-
that one, we're good with that one, okay.
You can do all of these at once if you want, or you can vote on them individually.
So depending on if we go to the 94% collections, that will determine if I can pull off a $1.30 or a $1.29.
That's
So,
why you need to vote.
What would it be if it was a 93% collection?
at 92% collection, it is 28 cents. At 94, it's 27. So if it's at 93, it's still not gonna give me really enough wiggle room to make a
Okay.
difference. I couldn't drop the penny until I moved it from the 94. Unless you wanna go out 3 decimals and give me an extra half or 7, 3/4 of a penny. But I can only drop it down from 28 cents to 27 cents if I increase it by the 2% collection rate. So that will depend on your general fund, which number we're looking at, 28 or 27.
And our efforts to collect.
Comments? Opinions?
Are you gonna vote on each rate?
You want to vote on each rate or the total rate?
I'm good with rural debt, so you want to vote on that one?
Go ahead and vote on it
Okay,
and
real
then get
debt,
into the
I can
next one.
get that one.
You either have to include them all in the motion, or you can vote on them one at a time.
There's a lot of bouncing balls, so.
Do you want a motion to do
it's-
the rural debt then?
If we're gonna fight over the others, then yeah, let's get that one out of the way.
You want to do the?
Yes,
do the motion?
motion to approve the reduction of the rural debt service fund rate from 0.11 to 0.9.
Can I get a second? Does anybody have any questions on that? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0 on the rural debt.
All right. Sounds good. Motion to approve the general debt service fund at 0.15.
Yes, that's basic.
Any questions? Ready to vote on that? All those in favor for the general debt service at 0.15, say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
Schools, we don't have an argument. Is that the collection will impact schools?
Yes, it will.
Okay, so motion to approve the solid waste sanitation fund at 0.03.
Second? Can I get a second?
Mary.
Oh, Mary did. Is any questions on that? Ready to vote on sanitation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 5-0.
Just covering our bases, Jeff.
That's right.
How about the schools?
So now we're at schools. By reducing the insurance, that saves us a penny. If I go to 94, we can save 2 pennies. So we're either looking at a 0.76 or a 0.75. Again, I can get 1 penny by going the 2 extra percentages.
I guess my concern is I don't want to make it so hard on the next year budget. I don't want to see a a tax increase 2 years in a row because we were so tight this year. Because I always hear people say, I get a tax increase every year, and no, you don't. Well, when we do this, we'll be saying, yeah, you do get a tax increase every year. Mayor, let's see, you're off a play over there.
I did all my talking earlier. We got a nickel, 59 others, we got a nickel out of it.
I know I've spoken up, Chair, several times about the timing of realized savings and employee benefits. I think it's great that the department was able to, Gina and Mayor and Phoebe, that they were able to work with the carrier to get some of that savings moved up. That's awesome. That doesn't even address the pharmacy savings that really are out there. The debate is over which direction you pursue, which vendor you use, which PBM, all of those things. But in my professional opinion, I believe that there can be significant savings there in the pharmacy piece. I am less worried, therefore, about the 94%. I'm less worried about next year's budget on that score, because I do think by then we will have realized actual dollars in those savings. Now, I can't guarantee it.
What?
And I'm not the one doing this is not, I really feel like there is an opportunity there. I agree with Commissioner Smith in that sense that there are things specific to the pharmacy savings that are available.
I guess my concern is, well, then there'll be 94 from now on, and there may not always be a savings. Yeah, you can't go back. Once this is done, that's it.
Yep. And I guess just to kind of echo Commissioner Buffy, I think that I'm confident, I guess I don't be too overly confident, but I don't see this as moving forward. We always do the 94%. But I think that this year, it's an unusual year, especially with the residential reassessments, that I think it's worth doing this year, knowing that we do have potential savings that we can realize for the next budget year based on how this year goes. So I'm good with the 94%.
I guess I have a question. We need Brad Coleman here. 1 cent, what does that equal to a house that's worth, let's say, 800,000? How much more is that a year they're gonna pay? $14.
Something like that, I think. My math was right whenever I did it.
$14.
That's what I came up with.
For the youth,
For the year. I mean, they go that and spend it in less than that, I mean, more than that on a meal.
Well, at least that's money they're spending in the county.
That's what?
That's money that they be able to spend in the county, at Chick-fil-A and buy a meal.
Chick-fil-A makes more money.
Oh, we get the sales tax though that way too.
and Chairman, I'm gonna go back on and ask a question, just not play devil's advocate on purpose, but what do we see when we have an increase, when we have the reappraisal increase, collections, the rate of collections, then does it decrease in that following year?
It'll be a little slower, but ultimately, it's like we got the collections in for what we did, was it 3 years, 4 years ago? It bumps up to about 99.6. But we have to go to court and some of those.
2023, we had 99%.
Well, we just recently finished
Just finished
collecting
it.
on 2023. And based on what we had current and these delinquent, we're hitting the 98.
See, the fallacy, I mean, you wouldn't do a business model this. You always set the tax rate. We send the bills out in October, and you have to the end of February to pay your bills. So you are 7 or 8 months deep, and the schools and the county have ongoing cash flow. Come January, you're having to operate a little time. But the 92 to 94 is not an issue, it's just tax pay.
And, out of this fund balance, they're paying for a lot of these capital expenses. Next year, we'll have to be borrowing the money instead of paying for it out of capital. I mean, this is one of those, all it is you're taking it now and you're gonna pay for it later on. And what is $14 at this point for us to be, I guess, in better financial shape?
Madam Chairman, would I make you mad if I said call the question?
Yeah,
You don't have a motion on the floor.
Oh,
you can't call the question.
You need a motion on your
92 to 94?
county general and your general purpose schools.
You gotta get that
Make a
motion. You need a motion for the pennies that will reflect either 92 or 94.
We're not actually voting on 92 or 94.
Right.
Correct.
But that would be, yes.
That would be
Based
inferred.
on, right.
Basically.
So
You're inferring it.
somebody needs, if they want to change the percentage, then they need to do a motion to change the county and the schools then.
I'll make a motion. Can we do both of them? Or just do one?
You could make a motion to amend county general and general school purpose to 27 and 75. That would reflect the 94 collection rate. You could do that together, correct?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to change the county general to 0.27 and the general purpose school fund 0.75.
Second.
Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Here, right here. All right. Passes 4-1.
So Phoebe, what's our new tax rate?
1.29.
Do we need to vote on the resolution as amended?
So moved.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Me. Passes 4-1. Any more business?
See you at 8 o'clock next Thursday? Or
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Don't come the wrong day.
Yeah, don't come around with that.